Good morning, Kingdom Academy. It is another Monday, and we are talking about the laws of leadership from Matthew, and we are on law number 3. And these are some teachings that I've been working on for many years. Actually, they're not teachings as much as observations. As I've been studying the book of Matthew for several years, a couple of decades now, I've continued to just absorb and learn and recognize where all of these principles can be applied, not just to life in general, but to leaders and leadership and how it can change us as leaders. And the third law comes from Matthew chapter 5. And it's an interesting passage because it's been taken out of context and misapplied and misunderstood for a long time by many people. And you can ask people about it today and they'll still give you different answers. But I'm going to give you a different take today, that maybe one that you've never heard before. And after we look at it, I think you'll agree how this applies to leadership and how it can change you as a leader. So this is chapter 5, verse 38. It begins with this. You've heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. Now, you might be thinking right away, okay, this is about a passage about being a pacifist. How can this be about leadership? Well, there's two things that I want to teach you in this. One, when you hear Jesus say, you've heard that it was said, where have you heard that before? See, when a rabbi is teaching, he's not just pulling things out of the air. He's not just saying things. And especially when he said, you've heard that this was said before, he's usually quoting something that everyone in the audience would have known. And what would that have been? Well, that's the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. By the age of 12 years old, sometimes 13 years old, most kids in that day had those 5 books almost memorized. They studied them all the time. That was their elementary school textbook. It's where they learned to read, where they learned to do math, where they learned about astronomy and astrology and how to do business. It was everything that they needed to do in life was in that book. And so here Jesus says, you've heard that it was said. You know what I'm talking about. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Everybody knows this passage. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. What does that mean? What does it mean to turn the other cheek? If you and I were to square off face to face, and we were in an argument in the 1st century, and I was a Roman soldier, and you were a Jewish business person, and you disagree with me. And as a Roman soldier, what is my mentality of you as a Jewish person, as a Jew? Well, you were below the Roman soldier. You were a servant. You were a slave. You were, in their mind, not even human, subhuman. Your job was to do whatever you were told to do because you didn't have any power whatsoever. And so if you disagreed with me, I had the right to hit you. Now, a couple things about hitting that you have to recognize. One, if you're standing face to face with me and I were to hit you on your right cheek, which hand would I use to hit you on your right cheek? My left hand? So I could hit you on your right cheek? Maybe, but more than likely, no. Because in the ancient Near Eastern culture, 2,000 years ago, your left hand was used for one thing and one thing only. And it was never used for anything other than that. What was that? What would you use this left hand for? Well, they didn't have toilet paper back in the day. So it was used for one thing. So that would mean that if I'm going to hit you on your right cheek, I would have to use my right hand and the back side of my hand. And so if I would back slap you like this, it still means today what it meant 2,000 years ago. It was a sign of disrespect if I hit you that way. It was a sign of you're below me. It was a sign of you're not worthy of me hitting you. Because in the Roman era, I would only punch somebody who was across the battlefield from me, somebody who was an adversary of mine, someone who was my equal. You're not my equal. You're below me. I am above you. We see this today, don't we? In business, in politics, even in families. You are below me. I'm the boss. You do what I tell you to do. Don't question, just do. We have a lot of these in society. They're called tyrants, some places. They have other names too. We won't share it on this podcast. But if I were to backslap you, what does Jesus say? Turn the other cheek. So if you get hit, give your other cheek. Which is odd. Because in that situation, when you get hit, typically we have two emotions, fight or flight. If I get hit, well, then I cower away and I leave, I flee. Or if I get hit, I get really mad and I fight back. Well, now I'm in a really bad position because this person is a superior to me. He does have authority over me. And so if I start punching or arguing or saying something derogatory, that could put me in a very bad position. It could kill me. Or today, it could get me fired. Or it could make me look terrible in front of my peers. Or, as a family member, it could separate the family. There's all kinds of things what happens when I fight back because that's my instinct. But Jesus doesn't say fight back. What does he say? Turn the other cheek. So now what has happened? You get hit. Instead of fighting back or running, you say hit me again. Right here this time. And don't backslap me because I'm turning my cheek, so you have to punch me. Well, now the tables have just been flipped. They've been turned. No longer is it, what am I going to do as the person who's been hit? It is now on the Roman soldier of what are you going to do now that I've given you my other cheek? Will you punch me? Will you tell everybody here that you're equal to me? Will you show everybody here that you respect me? Or will you walk away, showing everyone else a different side of you, fear on your part? You see, what Jesus just did here was he created what's called third option. Instead of just fight or flight mode, which too often we live in, he gives you a third option and say, no. Before you do anything, think about this. There's another way to show the person who's mistreating you or is being tyrannical to you. You don't fight back. You show him that you earned or you deserve respect. That you're not subhuman. You're not below him. You are his equal. Well, what happens then? Too often we live in a society that only operates in binary choices. We don't realize that it actually takes more courage to think of a third option that will give me respect, because that also takes courage. It doesn't take courage to flee. It doesn't take courage to fight back. That's just raw emotion. But it does take courage to stand up for yourself without resorting to violence and without resorting to vitriolic language as well. If we live only with binary choices, we find binary cultures full of polarization and childish responses. I mean, just turn on the TV, turn on social media. Look at Facebook. What do you see? You see people acting in fear or violence, running or vitriolic language. So the question is, who do you want to be? What type of leader do you want to be? Do you want to lead people by polarizing or dividing or creating enemies? As leaders, it's our responsibility to unite people, to bring people together. This has the power to create synergy, to create movement, to create powerful things. But if we live in fight or flight all the time, we only destroy. We divide. And what we have to recognize that as human beings, each one of us is created uniquely. There's not one person on this earth that is like another person. Every single person is different and unique in our own ways. And as leaders, it's our responsibility to recognize these talents, to find ways to inspire, to pull the talents out from our team and to use them to make things better, to make this world a better place, to make this company, this business, this organization a better place. But as leaders, that means we have to do something else. That means we might have to start listening and paying attention and asking questions of the people who work for us. We talked about asking questions a couple weeks ago. Questions are the answers, but questions take humility. Because if I ask you a question or you ask me a question, we might learn something from each other. You might change my mind if I ask some good questions. But asking questions in humility also helps us find third options. We should never, as leaders, ever allow ourselves to be stuck with only two choices. So, what did we learn? That when you're in a situation and you're trying to find the right direction, the right choice, and everybody's saying we have to do this or we have to do that, it's time to take a pause. Be willing to be creative, to think outside the box and ask or demand, what's the third option? What is it that we are not seeing? What are the things that can make this better, that are beyond these two options? Because there's never, ever just two. It just takes time, maybe courage, to find that third one. So before you make that next decision, ask yourself all the time, is there a third option? How creative are you willing to allow yourself to become, or your team? I hope this helps. It has literally transformed the way we lead here in the organizations that I'm a part of. We never settle for two options, and I hope you never do either. So, this is Matt signing off. I look forward to seeing you next week with law number 4. I can't wait to get to that. So, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May He shine His face upon you, and may He give you peace. We'll see you next week.